Blue Beetle Graduation Day issue 3, Josh Trujillo and Adrian Gutierrez on the art. I actually didn't read this. A cut had to be made, and this was the one that I didn't read. So you can fill them in on it, Matt.
So I think it's funny because Pete doesn't recognize Starfire like 9 times out of 10. So of course he doesn't read the book where she co-stars.
Once out of an infinite amount. 9 times out of 10, my ass.
It's just a fun narrative to go with. So this starts with with Batman and Ted talking about this Reach invasion, and Ted's trying to piece everything together, and they're in what I'm going to call the Beetle Cave, right? He's at the ship, and he even has glass cases with Booster's costume and his costume, which I think is weird, but they're talking about this doesn't make any sense because they can't figure out what's going on with Jaime's Beetle because the type of encryption doesn't exist on Earth because it's Reach technology. And Batman wants to know about Dynasties and why she hasn't been on their radar. Like where could these other Beetles come from? And Ted's like, just give me time, I'll figure it out. I'm the guy that knows all about the Reach, and Batman kind of blames Jaime for all of this, because he was given strict orders to lay low, but Ted, you're kind of encouraging him to go out and be a superhero. And he's like, he's not a kid. He can make decisions for himself. And then he goes, yeah, whatever. You can do your disappearing act. And then Batman does to Ted, and Ted gets kind of irritated because he didn't think he was going to do it. But Starfire comes to talk to Jaime about how, she's worried about him because she knows what it's like to be, her whole backstory of being and essentially is enslaved to another civilization, and, not having control over her destiny. So, she just wants to come in and check on him, and he tells her that he's scared and because he doesn't know what's going on. He thought he had all the Reach figured out, and him and his Scarab were on this, they had this understanding, and now that's all gone. But Jaime's mostly upset that Superman came to Grant, because if Superman's telling him to do stuff, he feels guilty not listening. And Starfire's like, well, this is why I came to talk to you. You need a mentor, and I'll be that mentor for you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. As they're having this discussion, Ted's sister Victoria has Dynasties under lock and key still, and it's just like, we're going to give you, I'm going to get answers from you, and we find out Dynasties' origin a little bit here, and that she's a teacher from El Salvador. And when this gold beetle came and attached, much like Jaime had the blue one attach, and she feels like she was chosen by fate, and that she feels connected to something greater than herself, something that's much more cosmic. And Victoria's like, why, what exactly is all of this? And Dynasty says, well, you have no idea what these scarabs are capable of. So she looks at her kind of like a thing that's, don't worry. She says, don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on all of this too. And you're going to stay here until I know you're no longer a threat to Blue Beetle. But my main question is, are you alone? And then we get back to Starfire and Jaime, and, Starfire recounts her origin, and we get a little piece of, how she can absorb languages through physical contact. Where when she kisses this random guy on the streets of Palmera City, which I don't understand why they just didn't call it Los Angeles, because through all the art, it's very much LA. Like, a lot of the vistas are like the Santa Monica Pier, some of the mountains in the back. It's just missing the Hollywood sign. But that's, Starfire ends up, learning Spanish through this. And then Jaime's Beetle starts going off, and a green beetle comes out of nowhere, and comes to start attacking him. And this one has the same kind of armor he does, but has these like scythe, like sword kind of arms, which snap Starfire and Jaime into action. And we get an action scene of them taking out this beetle, which they end up teaming up to do. Jaime takes him up high enough in the sky and has Starfire supercharge the sand on the beach. So it creates like this molten glass, which then they trap the beetle in. Which then it breaks out and says that its name is Natita, and then grows like giant, or like Ant-Man would. So now you have this big giant, kaiju sized green beetle. And so Starfire ends up pushing herself into like these tendrils that are coming out of the green beetle, and like kind of goes supernova. And when she does that, because of the physical touch of the going future or supernova on this beetle, she gets a history. And then we find out that what I'm assuming is Dynasties and this green Natita beetle is they are an offshoot of the Reach, which Starfire had heard like rumors of when she was up in space before she had come to Earth. So centuries ago, the Reach fought a deadlocked war with the Tamaranians. The Reach are conquerors, but what they do is they let things on the planets that they're conquering get super bad, so then they can come in and be like these saviors, and then they just strip everything away. But because of this war, it led Tamaranians to be in contact with some refugees of the Reach, and they were known as the Horizon, and that these are an offshoot of the Reach that kind of run counter. So if the Reach are conquerors, these refugees are the people that show up to kind of thwart. They're like counter revolutionaries to the Reach. And after Starfire gets all this information, she, finishes her supernova phase and kind of blows apart this gigantic beetle. It kind of dissipates. So I'm still not 100% how that, big creature, if that's just a piece of the suit or whatever. But we see it, disintegrate into smaller pieces, and Starfire, or Jaime, catches Starfire, and they're like, well, we got to find, who this is. But as they're going away from the pier area, someone comes up out of the water wearing a green jacket, and it's hinted that this is that green beetle. And she, I think it's a she, it's dressed like a she, disappears into the crowd that came up to watch Starfire and Blue Beetle. We get towards to the end here, and it's Ted talking to Victoria, talking about this gigantic beetle, and she tells Dynasties, don't worry, I won't be gone too long. She takes what looks like, I don't know if this is a key or her own blue beetle, it looks like a scarab, and plugs it into a computer, and it opens up her own kind of beetle layer, but it's all bathed in red. It looks super villainy. So I'm not sure if she's going to end up being, like an agent of the Reach or whatever, because the fact that in Starfire's recounting of their history is, the Reach send people in first to make things worse, so then they can come in and offer a solution. But yeah, and then Jaime gets a call, and it's his friends, and they're saying, hey, where are you? We're coming to visit you. And he's like, well, on such short notice, like what are you doing? And we need your help. And when it goes back, it seems like his friends are in like this trance, and someone's sitting in the back of their car wearing a hood. And he goes, oh, I just hope that your friend can help me. Jaime, was it? And it says next fade away. So I don't know if this is another character. I'm not that steeped in Blue Beetle lore. But it seems like this person is, is forcing his friends to come to town to visit and bring them along. So, and that's where it ends. So a lot of fun stuff happening with the Reach and these different Beetles. Come to find out that it's these other Beetles. The reason why Jaime's Beetle is acting this way is because these are threats to the Reach. So of course it's going to start acting up. And if the Reach know, they have intel that these, the Horizon are showing up on Earth, of course his Beetle, which is programmed by them to, would go into defensive mode about it. But yeah, no, really, really enjoying this. Like that, this gave Starfire some big props here, like making her Jaime's mentor as someone that's, come to this planet, experienced everything. She has that cosmic tie and has that perspective for him. But is also steeped in the DC mythos. As she was a Teen Titan, she's been around and seen other things. And it adds a different layer than it being someone like Superman or Batman, right? It's someone that's closer to him and closer to his experience. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 8.5.